Every tree has roots, every life has branches, and every adoption has a story. Some stories begin with questions, some begin with loss. All of them are rooted in love and the search for connection. This is Janet Monroe, and this is Roots and Branches Adoption Stories, a podcast where real stories take root and grow. Because the more we share, the more we understand, and understanding helps us grow. Now, here's Janet Monroe.
Hello, and welcome to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories. My name is Janet, and I am your host. The roots represent the beginnings, the birth parents, the adoptee and the adopted parents. The branches are the far-reaching effects of adoption, the siblings, family members, and friends whose lives are forever changed. So I'm really excited about today's story. I found this gentleman in a Facebook group called Adoption Sucks. He posted that he had written a book called I Found My Mom on Craigslist. Now, in checking out Craigslist, I have no idea how he did that, but we'll hear more about that shortly. Ron's story is raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal. Born in the early 1970s, his adoption began with a secret arrangement between families and was followed by years of unanswered questions, shifting stories and being told to be grateful for the very loss that shaped him. After decades of living with sealed records and incomplete truths, Ron turned to unconventional methods, including Craigslist, in his search for his biological family. What he found was both life-changing and complicated. This is I Found My Mom on Craigslist, Ron's story. So welcome, Ron. I'm glad. Unfortunately, we don't have you on video. All being well, this will work out for sound. But tell us, Ron, how did your adoption come about, and when did you first learn the real details?
Well, thank you very much for introducing me and having me on your program. I don't remember a time when I didn't know I was adopted, and I came about I saw my birth certificate, and I had a couple of questions about it. My biological mother's name was on there, but there was no contact information. My biological father's name was not on there, and I had questions, and I was always told to shut up, or that I should be more grateful, or that I shouldn't answer questions, or that my questions are too hard to answer. All the things like that. And like you said, I did do an unconventional way to find my birth mother. I went on to Craigslist Missed Connections in the state and town that I was born in, which is different from the state that I'm in now. And I put up a post saying, hey, I'm Ron Carlson. I was born in I listed the year and month and day I was born. I said, hi, if you have any information leading to my mother, or if you are my mother, please get in touch with me. All I really want is medical information, because my son's getting older and I need to know if I need to look out for anything. And in there, I also put a promise that if I get said medical information and you're not comfortable talking to me, I don't have any problem with not contacting you anymore. I'd be a man of my word. And oddly enough, I actually got a message from someone who knew my birth mother, and she contacted her through Craigslist, through classmates.com, touch with her. So a woman that remembers my mother being pregnant with me put me in touch with her, and the rest, as they say, is history. She accepted me into her life and introduced me to my younger maternal sister, and I found other family, and it's been an emotional roller coaster.
So what would be the odds of you finding that on Craigslist? Like, I just find that's almost impossible, right?
I view myself as incredibly lucky. I can't even imagine what the odds would be. They would have to be like winning a lottery while being struck by lightning and bit by a shark.
I know, because that's really incredible, but it also gives the opportunity for others to learn and to be able to do it. So when I was checking out Craigslist, I didn't see missed connections, but I guess that has to be there, and that would be a good place because there's so many choices, right? And
yes.
And it's
and
just
sadly they don't have the missed connections anymore.
Okay.
Or they might have it on there, but it's listed differently. But yeah, it was the most amazing thing when it actually happened. Everyone I told the story to was like, that's totally insane. You have to write a book about that. So I did.
yeah, it's the universe was conspiring for you at that point in time, right?
Yes.
All right, so tell us something about your adoption. What's your earliest memory of your adoptive home?
Sadly, my earliest memory of her is screaming. It was rarely a time at home when she wasn't yelling and screaming at me, or hitting me. My earliest memory of that is literally just her screaming at me and calling me stupid.
Okay, but your adoptive parents, they separated shortly after you were part of the household.
Yes, my adopted father left when I was 2, and adopted mom said that she kicked him out because she was trying to protect me because he would get drunk, and one night he threw a beer can at my bedroom door.
Okay.
And she said that was the night that she kicked me out, and she kicked him out.
But your adoptive mom gave you different answers about your father depending on her mood. So how did that shape your trust and sense of identity?
I had no identity. I felt like she told me that he was a Toyota mechanic. So I started, when I figured out that I had an aptitude for fixing things, I started working on cars in hopes that he would hear about it and come back into my life. That was when I was like 8-10 years old. But and her father had an auto shop and machine shop, so that gave me the opportunity to work on cars and motorcycles and things like that. And she didn't like me doing it, but it was hard to keep me away from her father without telling him why she wanted me to keep him away.
Right. So, and you had a knack for automotive?
I'm sorry, what?
I said you had the knack to work with automotive?
Yes, I do. And when I was in high school, I went into machine shop, so I have a machining background, but I didn't follow that path, actually. I ended up becoming a bicycle mechanic.
Okay, well, they need those as well, right?
Yes, exactly. That allowed me to do the problem solving that I like to do, the occasional making of parts that I can do, and exercise my environmentalism.
Okay. One of the things you said was you were expected to be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
How did that look like in your life?
If I didn't do my chores quickly, quietly, and with the right attitude, I got beat. And that's any chores. That's washing the floor, doing the dishes, doing her laundry, ironing her clothes, and her bed sheets, things like that.
Okay, and you were expected to be grateful to have that opportunity.
Yes, I was always expected to be grateful at all times for everything.
Right. So the adoptive mums that I've interviewed in some of these podcasts, the one thing that I really like about talking to them is that they have unconditional love for their children that they've adopted. That they're just the one thing that they really appreciate, that they have this opportunity to be mothers. I'm sure there's a lot of mothers out there that adopted that were not appreciative of the fact that they had children. Right?
Definitely not. I agree with you.
Yes. And obviously those mothers will not come on my podcast.
Yes.
They won't admit to it, but I'll have those children come on and tell us what that some mothers can be like. When it came to start to looking for your bio mom, the records were sealed. So how did that affect your search for the answers?
I had learned that I was born on a military base, and so that there was no access to the records whatsoever. And all I had was her name, and I was lucky to have that. And I had called probably 60 or 70 women with the same name as my birth mother, and they were all, they weren't, none of them were the right person. And the sealed records thing, it's so frustrating. We're not treated like we have rights, and the people that keep the records sealed are too weak to let us have those rights.
Okay. What was the catalyst that had you start looking for your bio mom?
I had looked here and there whenever I came across a new phone number for someone with that name for roughly 20 years. But the catalyst came when I got divorced, and my son was going to be coming to live with me in about 2 years. And that was when I really needed to get on that. So it was my son coming to live with me.
All right, and I know you said you wanted to do this because you wanted to be the best dad possible.
Yes, I didn't grow up with a dad, so I wanted to be the best father that I could for my son.
And connecting with your birth mom helped you do that. So what was your first conversation with her like?
Well, we spoke through email a few times. And in the last email, she admitted to me that she had a stroke about 10 years previous. So her speech patterns were a little off. And she thought I would make fun of her for that. And I said, absolutely not. Something happened to you, and you had no control over it. And I was mad that she thought I would have, that she thought I'd make fun of her, but not mad at her. I was mad at the fact that that her son would make fun of her. And that was terrible. So once I convinced her of that, then we had a couple of phone conversations, and then I flew to go see her. And seeing her, sorry.
That's all right.
Seeing her was, it was like a giant puzzle piece falling into place, and a giant weight off my shoulders. It was amazing. It really was.
I do know that feeling from your mom's side. So about that giant weight coming off the shoulders, it's something that we carry for forever, right?
And the same day that I met her, I met my maternal sister as well. She's 9 years younger, and she's amazing. I love her.
And you keep in touch with her regularly?
Yes, I do.
All right. And did you get the answers you were hoping for from your mom, as far as health and any issues?
I did, yes. Although I didn't get the answers that I wanted from my adopted mother, the answers of I figured most of them out, but not with her help. Because I had questions like, why don't I have a father? Why doesn't he come around? Where am I really from? Things like that. And she would tell me that if I deserved a father, I'd have one. And she would tell me how great my adopted father was, and how if she let me contact him, she'd be afraid that she would take him back and she didn't want him in her life anymore. And that really hurt. That always hurt me. But because I felt like she was denying me a father. And then when I found my birth father, I found out I had missed him by 13 years. And when that kind of hurt, that kind of crushed me. But when I went to see his grave last year, it was the crushing finality of it. I guess I hope in the back of my mind that maybe I'd see him, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it was. But seeing his grave, I broke down like I never broke down before. And I still break down every time I think about it.
So when we go back to the beginning, when your mom, your birth mom and your birth dad were together,
Mm-hmm.
was it, how did they part ways?
Well, okay. After she gave me up for adoption, she was told to never talk about it. She could never ever speak about it. And her seeing my father was painful. It was because she wasn't allowed to talk about it, and here was this man that also wasn't allowed to talk about it. He wanted to find me. I met a cousin on his side, and she said that she remembered him talking about me. And my bio mothers also told me that he tried 3 or 4 times to get in touch with me, but they didn't have my last name right. So he could never find me.
He could never find you.
Yeah.
Because your name had changed when you went to your adoptive parents.
Yes. and he never had the spelling right. He thought it was he thought it was a little different. She had told me what it was, and it was way different, and he never would have found me with that name.
That actually happened with my son as well. His birth dad, for some reason I thought the last name was Peacock, but it was Pincock. And so I had a hard time finding it. I couldn't find him anywhere. And then suddenly, 2 years after I'd met Dwayne, I'm going through some papers. I found a box of old papers, and in this box was a list of all the employees at the fishing lodge I worked with in the Northwest Territories, which was where I got pregnant. And his name was on there. So then I knew, oh, okay. And then I looked for him, and unfortunately he died a year before I met Dwayne. So he'd passed away as well. But Dwayne met all his brothers. He had 6 brothers and sisters from his dad's side of the family, so he was able to connect with them and spend some time with them. And he was grateful to be able to do that. So now you've written your book that I found my mom on Craigslist. You've been outspoken about the adoption industry. What do you want people to understand?
I want people to understand that the jokes aren't funny. And a lot of us adoptees, whether our adoption experience was good or bad, we have some similarities. Like, we hate not being able to answer all of the questions on the doctor's form at the doctor's office. We have, a lot of us have separation anxiety. A lot of us, we need that medical information, and it's just not available to us. We're not given access to our histories, to our lineage. There's lots of people out there that are finding out that they're Italian, that they're German, that they're Irish, whatever, what their true lineage is. And we adoptees, a lot of us, we never get that. And we grow up without genetic mirroring, which is very important to developmental, to the development of children. We never see anyone who looks like us. We never see where we get our mannerisms from, where we get our eyebrows from, where we get our height, our build, our anything like that. We don't get that. And when you factor in those things alone, that can cause issues all through life. Never mind anything else.
Do you feel that you have attachment issues?
I definitely feel like I have attachment issues.
Okay.
And I won't speak for other adoptees, but I definitely do. And the statistics are horrifying. Did you know that there's a new study that's been released where adoptees are not 3 to 4 times as likely to commit suicide, but are 34 times as likely to commit suicide than non-adoptees?
Really?
Yes. And did you know that in that same study, birth mothers are 37 times more likely to commit suicide?
Wow, that's a huge amount.
And that's not even delving into the horrifying statistics of drug and alcohol abuse, mental health issues that are lifelong. And there's a lot of adoptees or people who don't. There's a lot of adoptees in prisons.
Right.
And all of this leads up to, there's no easy answer for the adoption industry, but it needs reform. It needs conscientious reform.
I agree that definitely things have to change.
Yes.
Do you have ways that you think it could change?
I would say allow us access to our birth certificates, our unaltered birth certificates, and so we can get our medical information. That would be a good start. Yes, there are states now that are allowing it, but there are also states that have strict laws against that. Kittens and puppies, they say have to be kept with their mothers or for 8 weeks minimum.
Right.
So many of us adoptees don't get that. I understand that there are extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, we don't get that. And why do we rate lower than cats and dogs?
That's an interesting way of looking at it. But you're right. They do stay with their mothers for 8 weeks, and they attach. And
I grew up with kittens in the house, or cats in the house. We always had cats and kittens, and yeah, they'd be 8 or 9 weeks before we'd even think about letting them go. I remember asking my adopted mother that once. I said, "Why do we let the kittens stay with their mother for 8 or 9 weeks, and you got me the day I was born?"
Right. Definitely needs reform.
Yes. She never had an answer to that. She just smacked me.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that either.
Yeah, and no one does.
How do you hope that your book will help other adoptees and former foster youth?
I hope that they can start using Craigslist or some other platform to basically do what I did and find their families. And I hope that their bio families reach out too. I hope that they say, "Hi, I gave up a child for adoption on this day in this city and state, and we want to try to reconnect." And I don't care what the adoptive parents say.
Right. It would be so much easier if there was a registry like that.
Yes, exactly.
Throughout the world even.
Yes, exactly.
What advice would you give to adoptees that are starting their search today, that have just had this catalyst that says, "I need to find my bio parents," and they don't know where to begin?
Well, the DNA registries like 23andMe and such, they can be a help, but they can only help if the bio families had put their information up there, or they plan to in the near future. So that's not a definite, but that's a stepping stone. Another thing is to keep in mind that there's a real risk of the fact that the bio families won't want to talk to them. I've read stories like that, and it kind of happened to me. I had reached out to my paternal uncle, who doesn't want to have anything to do with me. Didn't even. He left me unread, basically.
Did he know about you beforehand?
Yes, because he was the older brother.
All right.
And I said, I'm not looking to be, I'm I'm not looking to encroach on someone's family. I'm just looking for a little sense of family, and I want to know what my dad was like. And he never contacted me.
That's sad when they don't do that. I am on Dwayne's dad's side. His parents knew, but none of his brothers or sisters knew. And they were all surprised that there was a son that was older than the 6 children that they had. They always expected somebody to show up that was younger, but they never expected anybody to show up who was older. So it was definitely a surprise to all of them when they...
I found that I have a lot of cousins and second cousins, but I haven't reached out to them yet because even though they're younger than me, you know, they've got their lives set, and they're on the other side of the country. They're in California, they're in Missouri and such. But I have talked to my direct cousin, and she is, besides amazing, she told me that I'm the oldest by about 9 or 10 years of all the kids.
Okay.
And I'm older than my sister, and so it's interesting to know that growing up I kind of felt like a big brother. I kind of felt protective of people, and I find out that I am the big brother.
Yes, you are. And that's good, because being a big brother also makes you a better dad.
Yes. I've talked to some friends of mine who have asked me some dad advice. And what I always say is, well, if your dad was a loving, present dad, be like him. If your dad was non-existent, or he was abusive, or he just wasn't present, then do everything in your power to be the dad that you wanted.
That's very powerful. That's very powerful,
And
Ron.
that's the dad that I am for my son.
How old is your son today?
26.
26. All right.
Yes.
And he's what is he doing with himself?
He has a small office job, but he also goes out and does karaoke with his friends. He rides dirt bikes with his friends. He rides dirt bikes with me sometimes. He and I go to concerts together. He's a great young man. I couldn't be prouder of him.
Good. And he'll have all these happy memories and learn.
Yes.
He will be a great dad as well, right?
I hope so. I'm sure he will be.
Okay. All right, Ron. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on today. And all being well, everybody has learned from Ron about what to do with regards to Craigslist and how to find your bio mom. Ron's story is a stark reminder that adoption is not a single moment. It's a lifelong journey of seeking truth, facing loss, and sometimes confronting systems that are built to keep those truths hidden. To fellow adoptees and former foster youth, Ron's message is clear. You're not alone. Your voice matters, and you deserve answers. You can read more in his book, I Found My Mom on Craigslist, which is available on Amazon and is now available in print. So if you connected with today's story, please subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can listen to all episodes at rootsandbranchesadoptionstories.com. I'm Janet. Thank you for joining me in breaking the silence and stigma around adoption.
Thank you for tuning in to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories, where every tree has roots, every life has branches, and every adoption has a story. Got an adoption story you want to tell? Want to learn more about adoption stories? Then visit rootsandbranchesadoptionstories.com.